I bet you didn't know I was actually going to be at Rachel's house today for this interview.
It's like double bonus. I'm happy you're here. We were both like, oh
yeah,
it's so good to see you.
Like
human, our women.
Yes, exactly. So welcome. This is the last episode of the Enneagram Mom Interviews series. I'm Whitney Ellison, and today I'm going to be the one doing the interviewee, if you will. And my dear friend Rachel DesRochers, who did an interview a little while back, she's a 7-wing 8, is going to be interviewing me. So it's going to be fun. But before we get started, just a reminder, the Enneagram is a tool to develop self-awareness and empathy. And the mission of this series is to amplify moms' voices by telling our stories, honoring our differences, and offering unique strengths and perspectives that will help other moms and all parents in general. So I want to thank Maggie Mason, Trunk Keeper, today for sponsoring this episode. And I just want to highlight my Shop Good Heart beautiful kimono top, and then of course I wore my Be the Good t-shirt underneath again. I will post a picture of this top where you'll get to see all the details.
Pretty.
It is velvety and lacy and beautiful. So anyway, these are still available right now, so if you follow Maggie Mason Trunk Keeper, you can look at all the Good Heart collection and shop that. It will sell out quickly. This is a second release, and items are limited. With that being said, today's guest is me, Whitney Ellison. And I lead with the Enneagram Type 8, and I have both a 7-wing and a 9-wing.
Oh.
And you can always really tell when I'm leaning into both of those. So, Rachel's seen both.
And she's witnessed my 8-wing.
That's right. So, anyway, we can get started.
Hi, I'm happy you're here.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers. We got some tea.
Yes, and my hot
Or water.
because I'm beard like that. What does this say?
Good cooks never lack friends.
That's the truth. I'm
Isn't
sitting next to a good cook. And I think that's what brought us together. Is I'm like, she makes graham crackers.
Soft food.
It's awesome.
Food.
Yes.
We can't. I am grateful to be doing this with you. I had such a good time being interviewed by you. And this series, there's a lot of stuff out there on the Enneagram, and I just really love how you focused on these moms. And I think that is such a missing. So it was very, very lovely. Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
How are you? Tell me about your self and your day-to-day.
Yes. Rachel doesn't know anything about me. Just kidding. So, how am I today? Well, the one thing about 8s is they're pretty honest. People are honest, but the 8s will really tell you how they are. So today, I am a little anxious. It's been a very busy 3 weeks. There's been some awesome things happening. Yeah. There's been some challenging things, I think, for all of us, right? I mean, Uncle COVID is not going away, and as with all gross, dirty uncles, showing up for the holidays. So, good stuff.
We're all pivoting that.
That's right. I've changed my Thanksgiving plans about 3 times, but I am grateful because we still are going to be with family. We still are going to be able to see the people in our inner circles that we create protected space with that we love. And we have food and shelter and warmth and so much to be grateful for. So when I get into that little spiral space, I just remember that's all. It's a meal, right? It's a meal. Thanksgiving is a meal. Yeah. And it's going to be nice whoever's there. Yeah. And we're blessed to be able to break bread together.
I think that this holiday specifically, right? I remind people that you can talk about gratitude outside of November, believe it or not. Yeah. But I do really think that it grounds us into the reasons for the seasons. Yeah. We have to strip away all the stuff that maybe sometimes we hide behind. Mm-hmm. And so I'm excited. Yeah, Thanksgiving.
And you know what? I'm taking all of next week off.
I am so proud of you.
Thank you. It's going to feel good.
Well, we all need that break in time.
Yeah.
So,
yes.
Whitney, how do you see your Enneagram type impacts these days, like the day-to-day activity?
Sure. Okay. So, let's see here. So a little bit about me, my kids, they're little kids, right? My oldest is 8, my middle is 6, and my youngest is 1. She was a surprise. That's why there's a gigantic gap between her and my middle one. And, they're great kids, but we're busy folks. And so, juggling school and now back to homeschool, and then also an infant. That's been a lot, but Enneagram 8's motivation is to be in control. And I believe truly, and I do believe this, that my third baby was a gift to me from the universe to teach me how to release and how to allow, because when you have a baby, you are reminded that you do not have full control.
You ain't got shit.
That's right. To put it bluntly, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. Yes. So
I have a lot of empathy for you in this season because
you built a business with a baby on your back.
I remember those days and that reminder of, right, like you won't even remember the pain that you're going through, right? Which is so, right, like it is true, Whitney. Like, it is so true.
You know why you don't remember it is because you don't sleep. Their sleep deprivation is no joke. But the baby is starting to sleep more. So anyway, so I've got that going on. And then of course I started my own business.
Yes.
And I'm loving doing this. This work is the work that speaks to my heart. And my husband works as well. He's an architect. And so when I look at our day-to-day, I prioritize exercise to try to keep my mental stability. That helps me manage that need for control because I exercise that big energy out of my body to where I can relax a little bit and just kind of
So that's been a great outlet for you.
Oh my gosh, it's been a great outlet for me. And then as far as managing my kids goes, when I look at my type and that need for control, I've been really good about listening to my kids and not trying to dictate the whole situation. Again, I've had some teachers this past year, right? Like we had the baby, we built a house. My husband built the house. He's an architect. He literally designed and built a house.
Right?
And right as we broke ground, I got a promotion to vice president of a corporation and I got knocked up. All those things within a month of each other. So
who's in control now?
Yeah, so I was getting thrashed by the universe, right? And I see MK's joined us and Jake. Hey, Jake. Jake's my buddy from high school, so it's good to see you, Jake.
I love social media for that.
It's awesome. Thanks for supporting. And MK, we love you.
I'm loving that Enneagram Eats.
Oh, thank you. Isn't that fun?
Yeah, I'm a little jealous. Can I say that?
Well, we got to do a segment. MK's a special guest, and she's doing the first series. So I'm gonna come and eat. Okay, so stay tuned because I've got my Stir Crazy Kitchen's doing something with me in December. My friend Daisy in Oklahoma, who also interviewed, and then we should do something in the new year, like January, February timing.
I love it.
It's done. Y'all saw it. Y'all are witnesses.
Yeah,
it'll be good stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, back to my day to day.
Yeah.
So it's hard, right? Like there's stuff that.
But it's the tools. So one of your biggest tools is your exercise right now.
Yeah.
You have a very, really good gratitude practice. Mm-hmm. And of course, Enneagram is a tool that you can sit with, right? And you use the positive and the negatives in this Enneagram work to again, self-aware. It's balance, right? Like we all tilt one way or to the other way. Yeah. That's our human, but like these tools help you kind of stay a little more grounded, level-headed, right? It's interesting too. Have you found? I'm off the cuffing these questions really quick, but have you found in these interviews, Whitney, those tools like for 7s or for 8s? Like there's some the 8s are exercisers, right? Have you seen like any of that
like common denominators?
Yeah.
Let's see.
That's kind of a big loaded one.
Well, no, but I can think of a common denominator for sure that I saw. I'm trying to make sure I get the number right. It was the 7s. So the common denominator in the 7s is was talking about their experience in high school and how that influenced their motivation.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah, I remember that coming up.
That was very common among the 7s that I interviewed.
Yeah.
And then let's see here. I interviewed several 3s.
Do the 3s just sneak in their closet and eat chocolate for one of their tools? Like, whatever that tool is for whatever number, we're going to be that. I'm going to switch.
I think my 3 friends all have a really fantastic talent for sarcasm.
Oh,
I feel like there's a little bit of that.
That's a tool, I think, in and of itself.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's a great question. Those are the ones that like I really, really could call out pretty easily.
Yeah.
And then like just generally speaking, what it's helped me do is get along better with people because I'm not projecting how I think onto others and expecting them to think the way that I do all the time.
Truly.
Right.
I think that what you just said right there is a huge key and a piece to us living an aligned life of joy, which I think is possible. But I think we have to use the tools, and there's lots of tools out there. I think Enneagram is it's been around for
thousands of years.
It's tested. So, okay, Enneagrams are all about core motivations developed in childhood around the ages of 8 to 13. Your type motivation is to be in control. Can you talk about your childhood and when this motivation was developed?
Yes. So, this was a really clear thing for me, and it's not for everyone. But I'm hoping by sharing this story, it will help people arrive to clarity in their own lives about that moment in time. So the motivation for an 8 is to be in control. This does not mean 8s have the innate desire to always control. It means that in circumstances where a situation is getting out of control, 8s are very good at stepping in and pulling it together and getting done what needs to get done. And so we also, though, can overstep, and that's because we have a lack of trust that others can manage the situation as well as we can. And that's part of the work, right? Yeah. So where this came from. When I was 10 years old, just turned 10, the summer of 1993-ish, maybe. It was 1991. We went to, I don't even know. It was in the early 90s. We moved to Kobe, Japan from Cincinnati, Ohio. And we did it in the summertime, and I came from a household where it was like suburban, minivan, secure, middle class, white kid.
Yep.
Safe environment. I like to remind everybody of the TGIF Friday nights and sleeping in your sleeping bag, watching the shows with your family.
Yep.
If you had that kind of childhood, you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
So I went from that to moving to a foreign country, and not just a foreign country, but a foreign country where the English language is not the main language, right? Not even close. Okay. And a country where, and this was good for me, it helped me later in life, but where you don't look like anybody else. And it's frequently pointed out to you. Although for me, in my experience, the Japanese were very kind to Westerners. So, it's not something I'm complaining about, but it's an experience that I had. And so, anyway, so we were starting to commute to school, and you've heard this story, so apologize that it's going to be like the billionth time you've heard this.
It's all good.
But when we were commuting to school, we'd have to take a train to a train stop, get off, take a monorail all the way to the end of the line, and then walk a mile to the school every day, to and from. And my mom would take us and bring us home. And 2 weeks into it, I had been paying attention. My peers and other Japanese children, and we went to an international school where they spoke English, but my peers and other Japanese children going to school were doing this by themselves. And I looked at my mom and I was like, Mom, I can do this. And my mom, who was like effing tired of doing it every day, right, was like, okay. Because she had seen her friends' kids were, like that's how it is there. It's just a cultural difference. And Japan's one of the safest countries in the world, by the way. So at 10, I was responsible for getting myself and my 8-year-old sister to school doing that adult commute. Once I received the freedom to commute like an adult at the age of 10 in the world, and not just in the world, but in a foreign country where I did not speak the language on a daily basis. I went from minivan to that in 3 months.
Yeah.
I gained independence that was so impactful and so influential in my life. I now had a little bit of allowance money in my pocket, and I didn't have to wait for my mom to take me to the store to go buy something. I could come and go as I pleased. I could go meet up with my friends in another city. Like, this was the way it was. So I gained this independence, and I became in control of my own life as a young adult. And oftentimes, 8s as children tend to gain their independence sooner than they really should.
Yeah.
And that's no critique of my mom. That was the circumstances of where we lived, right? So and then you fast forward 3 years, the thing that really sealed the deal for the need for control was when I was still living in Japan in a massive earthquake, the Hanshin earthquake. It was not the one in Tokyo. It was in 1995, long before the Tokyo earthquake. It was a 7.3 on the Richter scale. It killed 7,000 people. We were sleeping in our apartment building, and the ground started jarring, and the walls started shaking, and the floor was rippling like an ocean wave.
Yeah.
All the fire doors were slamming, and it shook. I don't know. It seemed like a minute, but it was probably 40 seconds. I don't know. Anyway, so it woke me up out of my sleep, and I knew immediately I was in an earthquake. Had zero control. And I just remember praying that, like, at my 13-year-old brain, I thought, I'm going to die. I am in an earthquake. Please, God, forgive me of my sins. Over and over and over and over. And then the shaking stopped, and I was still alive. And I went into my mom and dad's room, and they got up, and they rushed to my sister's room, and they thankfully were okay. Everything was shattered, broken, fallen. My dad grabbed a laundry basket, dumped laundry out, and was like, just grab what you can, throw clothes on. It was January, it was cold. And he's like, let's get it. We have to get out of the building right now.
Wow.
So we get in the staircase, we go downstairs, go out of the building. And this was a memory I blocked that my mom reminded me of. And I still don't know whether I remember it or I remember her description of it, but I blocked this. And I didn't realize this until she reminded me of it. We lived on a man-made island across the channel from the mainland of Japan. And I looked across, and the whole shore of the mainland was on fire. It looked like a war zone. And so for the next 3 days, and then I looked up at our apartment building, which was 32 floors, and it was swaying 12 feet to either side. I can talk about this now because I've done the work to process this, but this was like some serious trauma I didn't even know I harbored. And so that loss of control created my need for control, right?
So good.
And so anyway, long story short, we were refugees for 3 days on this island at the school I went to, because we had moved. For year 1 was the long commute. Then we moved closer to the school. So we stayed at the school for 3 days because it was built to break off the island and float in case of a tsunami, believe it or not. Sleeping on the floor with 1,000 refugees. And hey, Amber, I see Amber and Leslie and Gail. Hi, guys. Thanks for joining. And so anyway, they finally, a boat was chartered, and we stayed in Hong Kong for 3 weeks and then went back to the States. And that's when I started the middle of 8th grade in Oklahoma. And my parents went back to Japan the following year, but I stayed with my grandparents after that. So anyway, that is a motivation inception story. Yeah, it is. And often, not everybody will have pinpointed spots, but a lot of people do. And that's just an example of one where I can deeply say,
this was formed me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's a school of thought with the narrative Enneagram, which is what I'm getting my practitioner certification in, that we are born with our type. I go back and forth on, yes, we are born with the propensity to arrive to our type, because there are the 3 stances. There's aggressive, withdrawing, and dependent. But my feeling is we're born naturally one of those stances. And then whatever numbers fall within that stance is the direction that we will be oriented toward. I don't know that we're necessarily born exactly that type. So I'm still working on whether that's true. So
I'm gonna
anyway,
ask Jerry about that.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah. Yes. Jerry's Rachel's dad. He knows something about the Enneagram.
All right. How has the Enneagram helped you in motherhood?
Oh man, it's powerful in motherhood, you guys, because when you understand yourself and how you think, one, you're more self-aware in your behavior with your kids, right?
Yes.
Two, you understand that your kids probably don't think exactly like you do, so you quit projecting your expectations that they're going to process things exactly how you do onto them, which is to me called grace, right? And three, it really helps me love them more because it allows me to accept that they're their own people and they're not me. And that feels really, really good.
Yeah.
And so, and do I type my kids? No. But do I see different characteristics of different types in my kids? Absolutely. And when I see those characteristics, I try to be mindful of my behavior and how that type might receive something that I'm putting off, to, help them be who they are without being fearful of my aggressive, behavior that may be too much for them. So I'm my authentic self with them, but I'm also trying to empathize and make sure that, when I'm effectively communicating with them. I'm not a perfect mom. Because I am an 8, there are behaviors that come naturally to me, like yelling. Yelling is a behavior that comes naturally to me, and it is the work. So, the other thing, though, that this allows me to do in motherhood is to take care of myself. I know my needs, and if you know your needs and you're not meeting them, you're not meeting anybody's needs, because you can't help others when you're not in a healthy space yourself. Yeah. And so my needs as an 8, I like to be alone. Not all the time, but I need to recharge. When I need to recharge, I need to be alone to be introspective and to breathe, right? And then the exercise, right? Yeah. Kind of expounding that energy in a way that's productive and not anger. I know this. I get really mean and nasty and grumpy if I go for a few too many days without exercising.
Right? Yeah. No, that's it.
Yep.
And it's this, you're slowing down enough to be aware of noticing. That's right. That's part of any of this work, right? Is that just slowing down just enough, because you're right. And I think that's one of the things, Whitney, I sit with is allowing our people to be who they were birthed to be. Mm-hmm. Right? I think that's super, super powerful. What parenting secrets, tips, or tricks can you share that speak to your Enneagram strength that will help all parents?
Ooh, all right. So I haven't even given this any thought, but one comes to mind. So with kids, or with anybody, right, words really matter. And my words can destroy somebody. I have that ability. My words can also make somebody feel like they're on top of the world. I have that ability. So with my children, I try to be very mindful about the words I'm using with them so that I don't crush them. I like to channel the big energy and love that I have for them and that I have inherently into orienting it toward a positive vision for them. And if I can't do that, I do my best to be as short and as direct and as objective as I can in getting the message across that, there's an unacceptable behavior. Yeah. My friend Daisy, when I interviewed her, she's a 9, she doesn't use the word punishment or discipline. She uses, I can't think of the word now, but it's a much more productive word based on choices. You made this choice.
Consequence, right?
Consequence, that's the word. Yeah. So consequences, right? So it's kind of like that. Yeah. But I want them, if I need them to do something, because, for instance, if I need my son to stop jumping on the floor, making loud noises because the baby's sleeping, I don't say stop jumping on the floor, because all he hears is jumping on the floor. And what's he going to do? He's going to jump on the floor.
Better and bigger jumps, too, because he just got the stamp of approval from mom.
Exactly. So what I say is, I need the baby to keep sleeping. Please stop.
Yes.
And I say it like that, and it's mean AF. But he knows the reason I'm asking and that he doesn't want the baby to wake up, right?
Right.
And he stops because he knows that it's not okay. But my daughter's very emotional and sensitive, okay? And she cries a lot, like way more than I probably ever did. And that's hard for me. That's hard. And that one is a challenge for me because there are times when I'd be like, it's just stop crying. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You can't say that.
Yeah.
So
that extreme empathy is.
Yes. And so what I do when I am in a good place, what I can do is say, I know that's frustrating. I see why you're upset. This in real life is really not something that you're ever going to feel like you need to cry about in the future, but I get that right now that's how you feel. There are times when we really, really have to cry, and there are times when we feel sad and we have to process it, and then the next time it doesn't make you cry as much because you're like, oh, okay, it's not so bad. This is one of those times where it's not so bad. So when you finish crying, let's talk about it. I think next time you're probably going to be okay. And if I can work through things like that and help guide her to gauge her emotions to where if her iPad's not plugging in right, she's not crying about it, right? Like something like that, where you acknowledge the emotion and the frustration and why she's doing what she's doing, but encourage her in the right direction toward, this stinks, but we're going to get through it, and next time it's not going to be as bad if it happens again. I think helping coax them through that helps her honor her emotions, but also helps me instill some strength in her to know that, because what I want to do is prepare her for the things that really will make her cry. Because if that crushes her, then what's going to happen when her first boyfriend breaks up with her, right? Or, whatever, or a grandparent passes away, or whatever that looks like. Yeah. So I have to work on building up her resilience and also keeping her heart really big. And that's the work for me, because she brings out my acknowledgement of emotion, which is my biggest workspace. The 8s are of the body. We're gut people. We're instinctual. We don't even feel certain emotions. We forget about them. And so she is put on this planet in my life as a teacher for me to get back into learning about my emotions. And maybe that's the last tip I would say about kids is, man, they're teaching us.
Oh.
Right? We don't know it all.
Shut up and listen.
That's right. They're teaching us. And if we pay attention to the emotions they're driving out of us, we'll take away some lessons and become better. There's a lot of work and power to that, and I think it creates a better, long-lasting relationship when we're all adults. We know how to love better. So
I remind my kids, right? Like, get back in your body. Mm-hmm. And they do. I think there is that understanding. We think that we can't say these adult things because they're kids, and I have 3 fiercely independent children, and like that, right? That independence, we're all on the boat together.
Yep.
We're all on the boat together. We need them to, and I think that for me, I'm not that control. I'm control. I like it my way. Trust me, my kids would laugh at that I just said that, but it is that, right?
Yeah.
It's all slowing down. It's all listening. It's about using the tools.
Yep.
It's, I'm definitely a better mother when I'm in that space of really seeing my kids versus, now I need the word, my expectations.
Oh, like projecting? Projecting.
See?
Yeah.
We got this.
No, that's like the universal sign for projecting.
In case you guys didn't know that, you do now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And when we watch movies, and it makes both of my kids cry because the baby is just the baby, I just let them cry.
Bring her some tissues if you go visit her.
I have a lot of criers. Again, teaching me, right?
I think we get that. That is the total.
Yeah.
That is because, right? Like, that is what you needed.
That's the work, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, watching movies and they cry, and honest to God, I cry at movies too. I cry at commercials. The emotion comes out at the weirdest times for me, which is how I know it's repressed. But I let them, and I'm like, it's okay. That is a really sad part, and we talk about it, and that is so easy for me now. it wouldn't have been a while ago, you know, but it really is easy for me now because I'm sitting there having an experience with them. And we're doing this together and learning. And like scary movies, my husband and I made them watch The Witches the other day. Best movie ever, right? It was such a good childhood movie, the original one. I haven't seen the new one yet, but I can't wait. And they were terrified. They're 6 and 8. This is a totally age appropriate movie. They were such chickens, but they liked it. We could tell they were entertained, but they were terrified.
Yeah.
And Sam and I were like, my husband and I were like, this is so good for them.
Yeah.
They need to experience fear and they need to understand, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this is good for them. So anyway, Gail's laughing because she knows my kids and she knows exactly what I'm talking about. I see you laughing on it. So anyway, all that to say, you know, I've got great kids. So I love them dearly. And
they got a great mom.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And likewise with your kids.
Yeah.
I'm proud of
all
them.
of the children have good mothers.
Yeah.
I think that is, yeah. Yep.
The world is full.
Mothering ain't easy.
Mm-hmm. No, it's not. It's not. So anyway, those are just some thoughts about, you know, what I try to do in my day-to-day with my kids to really help.
How many episodes have you done here?
24.
24 episodes, and this is the last one that you are doing to close out this series.
Yes.
And what a great series it has
Thank you.
been. And you can go back on your Instagram and watch all of them because they're all on her like little Instagram stories. I like that about the stories, right? Because they keep in there so you can see them again and again.
Yep.
Aww.
And they're on my IGTV little tab.
All the things.
Yes. So, you know, this has been a privilege. I've talked to 23 amazing women who have shared their stories, offered wisdom, and educated people about the Enneagram, which I want the Enneagram to be accessible for anyone that wants to learn about it. And I wanted to honor moms during a time of our history where moms are getting hit pretty hard. So I hope that I've done that work and honored that space.
I think one of the best parts about it, Whitney, and what, if you listen, you hear those relatable, like I hope someone heard you say, because it really struck me, like a year ago when my kids would cry in a movie, it bothered me. Mm-hmm. Today it doesn't. Mm-hmm. These tools remind you that it's all healable. It's all you can shift those patterns, the negative patterns that you don't want to have anymore, through these tools. And I think that is something for women that's really important. Mothers, it's very important, is that vulnerability to say, I mess up, or I get stuck in the mud, or I've had a hard day, or I used to do this and I don't do it anymore, right? So that is something I think I've gained from this series, and just listening is that reminder that it's all fluid.
Yeah, and you know, it's all a journey. We're just right smack in the middle of it. Thank you for taking the time to do this.
Oh, I'm so happy to do it. I love this stuff.
This was so fun. And thank you to everybody that watched and everybody that'll watch later on.
Welcome to my dining room.
That's right. There is plenty of media that goes on in this room. So if you aren't already following Rachel as well, follow Rachel DesRochers on her Instagram handle. She has some wonderful wisdom to offer all of her followers. Until the next series, I will see you all again. Please stay in touch. Any questions about the Enneagram, please reach out to me. Take care. Thanks, everybody.